Hi everyone, this is Mick Ignis of Cinema Makeup School. We are here today to interview two of Season 10's contestants, both graduates of Cinema Makeup School. I'm happy to introduce you all to... and Robert Lindsay. Say hello everyone.
Hello, my little friends.
We're all his little friends, it's okay.
Everyone is Robert's little friend. So we're starting to build up things right now. We are quite a ways into Season 10 right now. So why don't you guys talk a little bit about your experience up to the most recent episode?
Well, I created a very nice rubber duck, which I truly enjoyed, and I really got a kick out of it. By the way, in the show it didn't come across, the name of the duck is actually Electro Duck.
It's a very important fact.
Yes. This is extremely important. Now, Electroduck was not the only little character that you created for this season. You've had Electroduck, you've had Hans the Brainworm.
Yes.
You had who wasn't actually featured, the very mysterious land crab.
We don't know about Lance the land crab because they didn't show the footage yet, and I will keep it open for Sci-Fi and Face Off to still put out a special, so I will not talk further about Lance the land crab. Let's see what happens with that. But I'm telling you, you're missing out because Lance the land crab was had quite an appearance there. Yeah.
So you've been kept around so far on the season by these judges who clearly are very entertained by this army of creatures that you are.
They basically just
building.
keep me around because I make all this funny stuff. That's the main reason basically, and
yeah.
I'm very entertaining.
So we met Electroduck. I'm sure this is not the last of the characters you're going to be bringing into this.
By the way, Hans the Brainworm has his own blog now. You find it on Tumblr.
He's tumbling at the moment.
He's tumbling at the Tumblr, Hans the Brainworm. Check it out. Each week he will meet a new celebrity now.
Excellent.
Invade the brain of the celebrity. Look forward to it.
Excellent.
I know I am.
Now, Rob, this is your third top look in a row. Fourth in the entire season so far. Third top look after 2 consecutive wins. How do you feel about about this streak that you've been on?
I feel pretty good. It's a nice little confidence booster. I definitely have really high standards for myself, so it's funny watching because they're showing a lot of me stressing out, which is just a big part of my process, I guess. I'm coming to find out. But just, yeah, it feels nice, even though I'm constantly panicked. That's just me, I guess.
Have you found that, since you started kind of getting, taking these challenges on and winning them, has your confidence grown? Have you been less stressed as you've been continuing on, as you've been nailing these out?
Inwardly, yes. Inwardly, my confidence is growing a lot, but outwardly I'm still expressing a lot of stress and anxiety, and I feel like it's gonna get worse before it gets better.
Excellent.
So we'll see what happens.
We're obviously we're not done with the season. Everyone on Team CMS is still in, including the 2 of you and Walter Welsh, who's not here right now. So everyone's doing great. As far as so far, what has been your favorite creation on the show that you've done?
The favorite, well, there are many. I really enjoyed the duck in the last episode. I guess I enjoy all of them in a certain way.
I liked your disguise.
Disguise?
Your little
yeah, well, I was top looks there. Yeah. But it was not. It didn't have the fun factor. It was just a good disguise.
It was pretty fun.
Yeah.
It was from Bulgaria and everything.
Search. Yeah.
Oh, we didn't get the Bulgarian backstory and all that.
They touched on it a tiny bit.
Yeah. She disguises herself as Serge, the Bulgarian. He's like a maintenance worker. He works with IT and stuff.
Now that was probably one of the most challenging challenges on the show so far, because it's one thing to kind of create a creature and have a little bit of flexibility there if something goes wrong, but with a disguise challenge like that and creating something realistic in such a short amount of time, you know, and you know, with only so much time to create
10
concept
hours.
and everything else.
So
10
we
hours.
had even less time for that. It was just 10 hours.
That was the one-day challenge, and that kicked everyone's asses.
Not mine.
Well, neither of yours actually, because both of you were top looks, and Rob, you actually you took home the win for that challenge, for which also a lot of people have kind of seen a bit of a family resemblance in your piece.
Yes, and what they didn't quite touch on when they aired the footage was that my main concept was actually inspired by my actual dad, who is a really big hiker and like backpacker. And he's the kind of guy who wears the khaki cargo pants and the really cheesy button-up short sleeve shirt and a fanny pack. So that's sort of why I went with that. But yeah,
his dad looks exactly like that.
It's pretty close. It's kind of frightening.
Yeah.
But yeah, that challenge was definitely a tough one for everyone. V pretty much said that most everyone's hair work wasn't that great. There was a lot of criticism that didn't even make it. It was a rough one, that's for sure.
Now, both of you are graduates of the prosthetic class at Cinema, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So this is not your first foray into kind of creating realistic prosthetic disguise makeups and things like that.
No.
So you know you have both been trained at the school to kind of carry out that work and create. You know, if there's one trick, one tip that you can give to somebody who's trying to create a realistic disguise makeup, what would both of you say that would be?
But don't do too much. The more you put on, the more fake it looks.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
That's why I use little appliances, you know.
And I wouldn't try to change things so drastically. A lot of us on that episode changed like races and genders, which can work to an extent, but don't go so extreme. Again, something that they didn't quite air was that a lot of the judges' feedback was like, this would have been more successful if it was just a nose or a chin, like Robert. It's just it's about finding those realistic elements and pushing those further, not a complete change.
Excellent. And to everybody on Periscope right now, if you have any questions for Rob and Robert, feel free to shoot them out, and I will make sure to relay those over to them.
We want to hear questions. We want to answer things.
Anything goes.
The
meaning of life.
Our favorite color.
How to hunt down turkeys in summer. Whatever works for you.
We've got one for Rob. I'll send this over to Robert as well. Outside of doing makeup, what are both of your hobbies? Like what do you do outside of like all this crazy stuff we see on the show?
Well, my hobbies are all aspects of makeup. I like to sculpt in my free time. I like to paint on my free time. It's all pretty much the same genre of stuff.
Now you do a lot of fabrication as well, Rob. Like what kind of stuff do you do outside? I know you have a little business that you're with as well. You do a lot of really cool stuff.
A couple friends and myself have started a business called Chimera Magic Supply, and we basically create like wizardy fantasy type merchandise on a pretty high quality level. We're going for like movie quality things. So we have magic wands and we have dragon scales and little fantasy creatures, and we're constantly expanding things, so definitely check that out because we have a lot of new things coming. And if anyone is in town for Monsterpalooza, we will have a table there, so definitely check that out.
Excellent. And Robert, what are your hobbies, and what are your like main ambitions outside of like doing makeup and all that?
Well, I'm a big computer freak as well. I do a lot of stuff on Photoshop primarily, and I'm as well inclined into musical things. And I'm a big fan of karaoke. I go all the time to the Brass Monkey, which is famous for my performances and sometimes in strange costumes.
Which there are videos online. If you're curious about seeing Robert Lindsay sing karaoke in a bacon costume or a Teletubbies costume, that does exist out there, and it is terrifying.
It's glorious.
It is, yeah.
Now you do film work as well, Robert. Is that
yes,
correct?
I'm a big film fan. Well, that's why my Twitter name is Multimedia Mutant, because I have a lot of interests in multimedia in general, music, film, sound, whatever,
Excellent. Now, when did you both get your start in the industry? Like, how old were you when you first started experimenting with makeup and, you know, kind of playing with this stuff, pursuing it as a real career move rather than just a hobby?
I got into it about when I was about 17. I started getting interested in it, and then I graduated from high school. And then at 18, I came to cinema makeup school, and that sort of, it was pretty quick how I started getting into it. I had no experience before I came to the school, and then I built all of my skills here and moved on from there. So I've only been doing this for about 2.5 years.
Which is actually one of the questions of somebody asking if they, if cinema is a good place to start learning. If you've never been, never played with this stuff.
If you have you need no prior skill to excel in these courses. It's not like you have to have some kind of art background. We take all walks of life. If you have no experience, you will do fine. And
Robert, when now you had a different career before getting into makeup and all that. So makeup was not the first thing that you started in.
No, because in Germany they always want you to learn like a real job, which some people they frown on makeup. Anything involving artsy stuff, anything with art. It's like this cliche that people say it's not a real job, So I'm actually I learned dental technician in Germany, which I hated. But
how long did you do that? Hating it?
A long time. Well, I do like the tools and the skills I gained from it. I just don't want to work on a professional level anymore as a dental technician because it's not creative. I mean, it's teeth. How creative can you get making teeth? In the end, it's just the tools. I like making fangs and exotic kind of things, So I don't mind doing that. But to talk about what got me into makeup is kind of quite interesting. Since my interest in film and TV, I come from Germany. I'm from a little place in the middle of nowhere, and we just had the local theater. So I did like an internship in the theater, and it's kind of sucked. But so in the theater you go to all these different branches, makeup, and you watch the show, the actors and all that stuff. And in the makeup room I found the product catalog from Kryolan, and I took that with me. I didn't steal it, they gave it to me. Okay. So, and then I just saw all those fake blood, fake skin, and it was kind of fascinated with that kind of thing. And I started ordering all kinds of stuff from them and just play around with the stuff. And I thought it was very interesting. And then they had books too. So basically, it sounds like a cliche thing too, because the Face Off is sponsored by Carmen too. But for real, because of that thing, the catalog I found, that piqued my interest further into makeup, and I'm not making this up for promotional reasons. This is the way it was. I swear.
Well, that actually comes back to what one of our fans here from Trinidad is asking what your favorite tools of the trade are, and if you have any favorite products that you've just fallen in love with over the years that you really enjoy using.
I don't even know right now.
Well, I like Kryolan's makeups. Cream. They have an excellent upper grease makeup palette. If you paint foam latex, this is very good for that. And well, there's no particular one product here.
Yeah,
they all go together when you make something. You have certain preferences, and you have to experiment as well. Some people like this more than others, so I can't say in general. It's a question of personal choice and preference.
Yeah, it really is.
You just have to experiment.
The right tool for the job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone is different.
There are so many different products and tools that essentially do the same thing. So it's really up to the artist to experiment and just figure out what they're more comfortable using.
Yeah. Someone's asking right now if Rob was planning on doing a YouTube channel for makeup tutorials or anything like that in the future, which we're actually discussing right now. We did one with Roberts a couple weeks ago where he demonstrated one of his techniques for laying hair, and we are planning on doing a tutorial with Rob soon on one of the techniques that he specializes in. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. We're gonna have that included soon. Another person asked, like, what do your families think of the very bizarre career path that you've chosen?
Thankfully, my family has been very supportive throughout. They didn't really pressure me into getting a regular job or going to a 4-year college or anything. They saw it as a pretty practical career choice, so they were pretty agreeable.
Well, my family forced me to leave the country immediately. That's why I live here now in the States. No, they're happy with it, you know. I'm joking. I'm still having very good ties to my family, and it's all good.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Now, both of you have shown a very, very unique style on the show that you kind of made your own throughout this season. Coming into this line of work, were there any artists that you felt very inspired by? Any specific films or anything that you just looked at and it's like, that is the sort of makeup effects that I want to do. That is the sort of, you know, style that really gets my blood going.
Definitely. I love large fantasy creatures and big fantasy movies, so Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, all of their big full-body creatures and their really crazy fantasy designs were really a point of reference for me, as well as Guillermo del Toro's work in like Pan's Labyrinth and all of his crazy fantasy movies, Hellboy 2, just weird sort of fantasy. That's sort of my favorite genre.
Now you mentioned Chronicles of Narnia, which includes a lot of work from Howard Berger. Now you know you've met Howard, correct?
I was actually I've worked at K&B for a short time and got to meet Howard. Got to see some cool stuff. Got to work on Walking Dead for a bit. Funny story. Part of my job there was actually interacting with some of the molds and some of the equipment that was used in creating the pieces for Narnia. So that was a cool experience.
Nice. And if any of you are curious, we currently are promoting our Hollywood Master Workshops, which are being taught by a lot of the biggest makeup artists in the industry. Howard is actually one of the artists who's signed on right now. We haven't revealed what he's doing yet or anything like that. Be sure to keep an eye on our Facebook and Instagram page because we are going to be offering a class that Howard is going to be teaching very soon. So keep your eye on that. Robert, what have been your biggest inspirations coming into this?
Well, it might show my age, if I tell you.
No one knows how old you are, and anything the internet says is a lie.
They put it on the freaking webpage of Facebook.
It's a lie. It's a lie.
I can't even lie anymore.
Don't believe anything that the page says. No one knows how old Robert is.
It's not my real age, okay? So, I mean, it's for many art makeup people, I noticed it's mainly Rick Baker and Dick Smith. And my personal films is American Werewolf in London and The Thing, John Carpenter remake. That's, I think for me especially The Thing, because it was so over the top. The effects so
gross.
Gross and over the top and so well made, and it's my personal favorite. As well, The Exorcist all makeups, all those a lot of 70s films. Makeup.
Which I think was plainly obvious to me when we saw both of your Parasite challenges. Like it was clearly obvious. It's like that sort of like disgusting, bursting alien sort of thing that you did with Hans the brainworm, jumping out of the guy, your model's head. And for Rob, that completely nasty worm that was just like crawling through the skin. We got that great reveal on the back. It was absolutely disgusting.
That's probably one of my favorite makeup so far, for sure.
With Hans the brainworm, he was actually supposed to move behind that wound. The whole thing, and they don't even show that. It had an extra one. It was not just the thing on the head. There was an extra one which had a line attached to it, and it was supposed to, and it did actually move a little bit, but the way it was constructed, and it was teamwork, it didn't work out as I planned, as we planned.
Now, it's a shame because obviously, it only being an hour-long show with a lot of commercial breaks, there's so much that's cut out of the show and so much we don't see. And I have to say, personally, as a fan of the show, the thing I'm most disappointed that we don't get to see much is the interaction between you and the contestants in the house and what it's like to, because people don't quite realize that you are cut off from the world once you go on this show. You are not You are not allowed to call anybody or talk to anybody outside of this. So the only people you're in contact with that you're spending all your time with is all of your fellow contestants. So would you like to talk a little bit about what that was like in the house and talk a little bit about your fellow contestants? Because that's one of the great things I love about this show is that even though it's a competition show, you're not out to make each other fail. Everyone is helping each other pull off these projects because you all want to see the other person do cool stuff.
Exactly, and the house was definitely the least stressful environment in the entire experience because when we were in the house, everyone got to decompress, we all got to conversate and chat, and the only humans we got to interact with were, besides production, was the cast in the house. So we really, each of us went out of our way to make sure that we were all comfortable because that was our safe space, and no one really tried to make it a bad experience in the house. It was all very friendly. We were all sort of chatting about what we would do the next day and asking each other for advice. It was a very creative and sort of nurturing environment, I guess.
Besides the point when we threw spoiled food at each other at some point.
Yeah, that's very true.
Which happened.
It did.
Now, I've heard that there was even a bit of a face-off musical that developed within the house.
Yep, that was thanks to this guy.
Well, we kind of made a song about kind of the experience being in the house, me and Johnny Lethbridge. We created the Face of House Blues, which we taped it. So,
there's a recording somewhere.
There's a video of it, so ask them. We filmed the Face of House Blues. And another fact that is widely unknown is that the house was actually haunted.
That's right.
And
I completely forgot.
And I personally never had any experiences with ghosts. I'm pretty open-minded, but nothing ever happened. But in the house, and I'm not kidding you, every single contestant start to have things happening to them. So I pick up one of those tablets that they leave tablets behind to take pictures, but there's no internet still. You don't have your phone, nothing. But you have those things to take pictures of each other. So whenever something happened, I would then film the person. And
they conducted freaking interviews. It was fantastic.
They would explain. I was kind of documenting it, and in the end, I actually made a 30-minute documentary about the hauntings of the Face of House.
All right, if anyone's listening to this right now, tweet at FaceOff.
Tweet them.
Make them release it. To see the ghost videos.
Yeah.
If you want to see these ghost videos and want to see these interviews with people in the house, and contact FaceOff. Leave comments and say release the ghost videos.
There's one.
We're getting so many hearts on this right now.
There's one scene that there's something that happened to me. And then I filmed myself telling my story, and something happened.
Oh my God, that's right.
And I captured it on film. There's proof on the film about funky stuff happening there, okay? And I heard later from sources that when Face Off, when they collected the footage and they checked it, at that scene, people were freaking out, actually. So
it's very strange.
It's good stuff. So ask them for it. It's the hauntings of Face Off House.
Excellent. Now, a lot of people were asking more about like the other contestants. Is there anybody who you felt very intimidated by on set, by just looking at their skills, just kind of being in awe of what they were pulling off during this? Any shout outs you want to give to some of the people you were on the show?
Definitely, when Mel was doing her watch guard, her paint job on that was fantastic. And at that point, I was very insecure in my painting skills, and seeing her definitely put her on my radar. I was pretty intimidated by her skill, for sure.
How about you, Robert?
Nobody.
That's exactly what I thought.
He's pretty good.
Let me ask you a very serious question now, which was, how intimidated were you by Mel's front butt?
Oh, I freaking love that thing.
I was shaking.
Oh my God.
I was shaking. I had to touch it.
I was at the table next to her the entire challenge, and there is so much footage of me just laughing until I was crying that they didn't even use it.
It's actually it's a shame because even though like the look didn't come together at the end, like that front butt, like her sculpture and everything like that was actually
It was
pretty
great.
glorious.
For me, personally, just the idea is my favorite.
It was so good.
It's my personal favorite. Even though the way it was judged, and sometimes, it doesn't always. It's a personal. Every art concept is its personal choice and taste. So for me, I loved it. So.
Now we've seen a lot of really cool guest judges this season. Got a two-part question for you guys. Who's your favorite? Like how was it to like walk in and see these guest judges that they brought in this season? And if you could walk on that stage for the first time and see anybody sitting in that chair as a guest judge, who would it be? And this isn't just limited to makeup artists, but anybody related to the entertainment industry to sit down and judge your character. Who would that person be? We'll even keep it to living or dead.
Living or dead.
Or if I can pick one?
Yeah, if you could pick anybody to be a guest judge of your makeup on that show, who would it be, and how did you feel about the guest judges that you met this season?
Well, I really like it. Well, even though he was kind of not a judging in, but I liked Lars Henriksen. He was very
Oh
cool.
yeah, Lance. Lance is a great guy.
It's impossible not to love Lance.
He is a great guy.
He's great. And as a judge, I mean, of course, I would like Rick Baker, the man, the legend.
That'd be awesome.
And another person who, I'm not easily get intimidated, but if I would get Clint Eastwood to judge my work, that would freak me out.
Yep.
I guess the few people, freaking Clint Eastwood, I couldn't handle that.
I can just imagine the idea of some sort of buddy western starring Clint Eastwood and Hans the Brainwave.
Oh my God.
That would be amazing.
Just keep looking at that Tumblr because I'm pretty sure that's.
I think that might be coming.
Hans the Brainwave would have a tiny gun and be his sidekick.
Nice.
And Rob, how about you? Like living or dead, you walk out on that stage. Ignoring the fact that if it's a dead person, you'd just be shocked that there's a dead person.
I mean, it's a dead person. I gotta say,
Elvis.
Either Guillermo del Toro. I would love to have him see what I can do, because that's my guy. Either him or Peter Jackson. Huge fan of Lord of the Rings. Hopefully, one day it could work for him. But yeah, definitely those two.
Excellent.
Any more questions, people?
Any more questions we want to
questions.
shoot out to these guys?
It can be not makeup related too. Anything goes.
Like, what's my mom's birthday? I don't know.
What's the name of Rob's dog?
There's the
don't
answer to
know
that.
That is a very important
What
question.
is the name of your dog?
Tina.
Tina. Rob's dog name is Tina.
And now we know a little bit more about Rob
There you go.
and his dog Tina.
Okay.
What advice would you give to someone trying to get on the show?
Oh God.
Keep trying.
Keep trying.
I was trying to get onto the damn show since season 1. It took me 10 seasons till they finally got me on the show. It's ridiculous. But keep trying.
Now, I got to say, one of the fun things about having both you guys on the show is that you both work at the school.
Mm-hmm.
And are here. We're both working at the school at the time that you were auditioning for the show.
Yep.
So we were here during the entire process of you guys kind of getting the call and wondering whether or not you were going to get it, and then having to say goodbye as you went on your mysterious film shoot.
I made this video.
And that's
He cut together my audition video because I don't know how to do that. So it was definitely a team effort, a big team CMS effort for sure.
You were there because of my video.
Yeah, literally.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
What were your? This is something I was curious about as well. What were your reference limits when you were starting to conceptualize? Did you have access to the internet? Were you able to actually look things up?
There are reference books, and that's it.
If you don't find what you're looking for in the book, then that's it. Too bad.
Yep.
You don't get anything else. Yeah. And sometimes it's frustrating.
Because there were dermatology books, so like skin stuff. There were like nature books, but a lot of the photos were about this big, so you kind of had to
Did you ever
stare at it.
did you ever find that you used each other as reference? Have you put any of your fellow contestants, because they're the only living things in the room with you, into your work?
There were definitely some times.
You know what I did for a disguise challenge? I used reference pictures of the other actors. Of the models.
Yeah.
I used those pictures to change.
Those are always good.
To change my girl into a guy, when I sculpt the nose and stuff, I just pick up, because we have pictures of all the models, so I use that.
And how were the models to work with?
Oh,
Did you have fun? Was there anybody who just kind of stuck with you, where you were just like, once it came time to choose that life cast, you just dived in and tried to grab that?
Definitely, there were two for me. One being Aaron. He was the watch guard. He was my alien. He is one of the most energetic, most enthusiastic models on the season. It was great. Him, and then Megan, the little blonde. Those are my favorite for sure.
Aaron was great. He did Octoman, and he played it very well. And my two favorite girls is Megan as well, and Nayeli is amazing. I love Nayeli.
Yeah, both friends of the school, both who have done a lot of demonstrations at the school and have been here quite a bit. They're a bit of they're kind of like a secret weapon. You know, because a lot of the contestants, the thing about this industry is that it is such an intimate industry that every season everyone knows somebody. Everyone knows somebody on the season. There's no, it's very rare that you're going to season that have a bunch of new unfamiliar faces. So, going into that, did you talk to anybody who had been on previous seasons and get any advice from them?
Oh yeah.
Related to that, have you worked with people who have been on previous seasons?
Yeah. One of my main sources of advice was Jamie Lee Donis from season 8. Her and I actually worked at the school for quite some time together, and I would just pick her brain all the time. Also, Chris Kobzina from season 4 is an instructor here, and when he would be working, I would just pop in and ask a few questions. So, definitely had some nice advice from those two.
I mean, I'm trying out since season 1, and basically a lot of my friends went already on the show. I know Alan, Jamie, Wayne, Julian, just to name a few. And I was joking though when they auditioned me for the gazillionth time, like, hey, get me on the show. Everybody I know was already on there. Even the freaking janitor of our building probably was already on the show, So.
So it just adds into this like big face-off family of people who have gone through this process and have been through that whole ringer.
Yep, it's definitely a weird experience for sure.
Well, I think we're going to wrap things up now, but before we leave off, why don't you guys tell us where we can find more information about you, your social media pages, and all that. We'll start with you, Rob.
All right. My Twitter and Instagram is robseal_5341. Those are basically my main outlets. I'm not on Facebook too much, but on Facebook I'm Rob Seal. Working on redoing my website right now, so that's not up, but definitely Instagram and Twitter. Check those out, and check out on both Instagram and Twitter and on Facebook, Chimera Magic Supply. We have a whole bunch of cool stuff, so check it out.
Excellent. Robert, where can we find out more about you?
I'm on Instagram as Robert Lindsay FX. I'm on Twitter as MM Mutant. And if you want to see very strange videos, I have a channel on the Multimedia Mutant. To find it easily, just type in "Why did those birds attack?" ? That will lead you to one of my videos, which will lead you to everything else,
including what I would consider your seminal masterpiece, Easter Joy. One more time your Instagram, since it's somebody asked. We have
Robert Lindsay FX Instagram.
And Rob?
RobSeal_5341.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. I'm sure we'll have a lot more coming up. Be sure to follow us on our Facebook page and our Instagram as we continue keeping updated on these guys as the season continues. And now, right now, for those of you still with us, if you want to know more information about Cinema Makeup School, we're about to host a live tour with one of our administrators, Nate. He's actually going to take you on a tour of the school and talk a little bit more about our program, with which both this guy here This guy petting my hair right here, and Rob Seal right there. Both are graduates from. So stick around. Be sure to subscribe to our channel, and we'll do a lot of more fun things like this soon. So for that, I will talk to you all soon.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Adios.